Well, today I'm going to find out how well my brain is working. I wanted to do a three-part uh, video. I mean, three separate videos. The first part was going to be about morality and how we obtain our morality. The second part was going to be about what I what is the current state of morality, and the third part was going to be about economics, which in my, everything I do is about economics in the long run, I guess. The idea behind all of these things is not just morality, but survival. Survival and morality are hard to fit together. And so let me talk about what basis of morality that people have. Because there seems to be a little bit of a disagreement among large groups of people about where they base and how they base their morality and what the morality actually is. And the largest portion of people, if you start talking to them, and I've talked to some people that say that you cannot have morality without religion, without God, without the Bible or the Quran or whatever. And I've talked to people, I haven't heard anybody say too much about you can't have morality without the Quran, but I know they believe that in Islamic countries. And I know that in this country, the Bible is the big thing. And there's different variations on the morality within these different religious groups. It's, but what I wonder about sometimes is, what is the blank slate of morality? What are human beings naturally morally going to steer toward if there is nobody telling them how to be moral? Like, let's say we just started over, wiped all. That's an impossible thing to do. I understand, because morality is a culture as much as it is an individual decision, and the culture determines a lot of what is moral, and the culture is based upon ancient concepts that go back to the beginning of when we were in caves, and now let me just start out real quickly in saying that the most primitive morality was a family morality. We looked out for just our immediate family or our tribe to and anybody that we could help within the tribe that was good. So we helped the old folks and we helped the babies, so, and the rest of us were strong enough maybe to take care of ourselves, and we worked together as a team. And when we ran across in a lot of the ancient societies, the primitive societies, I know people don't want to hear this, but they were kind of cruel to people who were outside the tribe. They would, in many cases, they would eat you if you were not a member of their tribe. And that was determined by the fact that there might not have been enough protein, in starving times. They'd find somebody outside their tribe and they'd grab them and they'd kill them and they'd eat them. And that was morality back in the old caveman times. And then as we became agrarian, started living in towns and cities, groups became larger. So they had to come up with a newer morality, a morality that incorporated a larger number of people instead of just eating anybody you didn't agree with. And that's, we really only are barely getting beyond that now, that new morality that started existing back then. And thus, the Bible, for example, is 6,000 years old, or what they say, but it's probably more like 3,000 years old. But because they didn't start writing until about 3,000 years old in the Bible. So maybe a lot of those ancient stories like Genesis and so forth were word of mouth, the things that they talked about when they sat around the campfire at night. They told the stories of Adam and Eve and all that, and the Tower of Babel and stuff. And, it was kind of like the telephone game where you change the story a little bit over time as you tell it each time. So those became, then they wrote it all down, and it became like the holy book, and everybody followed the morality in that book. But if you read the Bible and read it backwards, especially the Old Testament, but even in the New Testament, there's not a lot of morality in there. I mean, I can go on and on about that. The part about where Lot slept with his daughters, or Abraham was going to kill his son, and God told him, go kill your son. And just as he was about to cut his son's throat, God stopped him and said, ha ha ha, I'm only kidding. That was the morality of the God in that time. And that is carried into the modern world to a large extent. Even, I would say, something just passed my mind, but if you have to follow that old morality, then it doesn't enable you to incorporate larger groups of people. It's the question I have is, where do you really get your morality? Because now we just blink ahead to the current time here, and we have like people who disagree now about certain moral principles. I could name like 2, 3, 4 of them. Well, one being abortion, of course, that's one. Another one being homosexuals and whether or not they should be allowed to live among us and act freely among us. And I guess I could talk about guns and so forth. But guns are maybe I'll leave that one out. It's a more pragmatic experience for a lot of reasons. But the idea behind, let's say, homosexuality and gay, bi, trans, and all that kind of stuff, it in the Old Testament and even in the epistles, they're forbidden. Now, in the Gospels, nothing was ever said about it, which I always found a little peculiar. But but they didn't like them back then. And so even to the point where they would kill you if you were a homosexual. And nowadays, in this day and age, we're seeing more and more people who are supposedly different types of gender. And the idea that we're coming into a conflict here between some newer morals and some older morals. So the newer morals would be liberty, the concept of liberty. Everybody likes their own liberty, but they don't like other people's liberty so much. And the idea that someone should be allowed to do whatever they wanted to do with whomever they want to do it with, as long as they're not, as long as they're not forcing themselves on somebody, two consenting adults doing whatever they want to do is somehow against a lot of people's morality. If the guy's down the street having sex with another guy, and you're over here, you somehow feel like that is immoral. But why? But then there's the concept of liberty. Liberty meaning that you're allowed to do what you want to do as long as you're not hurting anybody else. And that concept escapes that morality, because the idea of liberty is a much newer morality that people, I mean, I hear a lot of people on the right talking about, we are all in favor of liberty. What they mean is they want businesses to have liberty, I think. But no, they really don't like. Everybody likes their own liberty. They just don't like other people's liberty. See, that's where the two, they're still weighing this out. But the very basic underlying idea of this, though, is, where do you get your morality? Is morality something that people are born with? Are some people naturally more moral than other people? I always wonder that myself. In other words, is an evil person born evil and stays evil? Is it easier for some people to be moral than it is for other people to be moral? Is it something that is built into the species, or is it something that is learned culturally? And I hear this all the time, because in this day and age, I hear people accusing people who don't agree with them, like politically or morally or religiously, as being brainwashed. You know, the people who, if you disagree with somebody's political or moral position, then you say, oh, you're just brainwashed by that left-wing media, or you're just brainwashed by that cultist religion. And I wonder, that if you could say that about any moral decision that anybody ever has to make. When are you being brainwashed by the media? When are you being brainwashed by the culture or the people that surround you? Like I said, the original moral standing was you would have the ability to eat other people that weren't part of your tribe. So was it naturally moral to be vicious, or is it naturally moral to be kind? Is it genetic, or is it cultural? I think, now this is I'm just going to guess this, and this is what I think. I think maybe that culture has developed over time, just like technology has developed, just like a lot of things have grown. We grew them as human beings. It's the mental world has actually developed, and it's developed rationally, so that morals have developed into a higher level from what they used to be culturally. The cultural existence of morality is very complex and very, slowly changing, but dynamic anyway. So that's where we run into this conflict of what I'm talking about, like, the gender thing. The concept that some people think that it's morally wrong to be a homosexual, but other people think that if you choose to be a homosexual, that's your choice, therefore your right to liberty. And like I said that before, but my idea is that it isn't the genetic attitudes that have changed, although I'm not sure of that. There may be some of that, but it's mostly that the culture has changed. The culture evolves. See, and it frightens a lot of people, because change in the culture is very frightening. And cultures can go down strange side tracks, I think. There was Nazi Germany, and there was the Mao Zedong and all that. These are people who, for what they considered proper moral reasons, went down strange killing directions. Started World War II, killed 64 million. Mao, what do they say? The Cultural Revolution killed 64 million of their own people. That kind of thing. And it was all based upon what they considered moral at the time. And neither of those things are still in existence, for, probably a couple of reasons. So is it possible that morality is just a fable? Is it just something like a shared story? If I believe this story, then I am just following a fable that somebody made up, and it could go either way. That's what I wonder about. And I think the moralities that survive over time are the moralities that have led to the vast, large population that we have today in the world, which is like, 7 billion people or something like that. Because people have learned morally, culturally, to live better together. We don't eat each other anymore. We don't kill each other like, the Nazis or the Maoists did. Those cultural moralities have fallen by the history, and they keep popping up. Bad morality keeps popping up. On the other hand, if you want to be totally logical about this, it may be that, we may not survive. It may be that we're doomed, whether it could go either way. I mean, I don't believe. See, I don't believe in fate. I don't believe in fate. I do believe in free will. I don't believe that we're fated to go one way or another. I do believe in entropy. I believe in the third law of thermodynamics, which says that all possibles, the largest amount of possibilities will eventually be played out in one way or another. All systems tend to fall into the maximum level of disarray. I do believe that, which tells me that we may lose. We may end up blowing each other up with the nuclear bombs because we can't get along, because we morally have decided that we're better than the other side, and that we've divided ourselves. We're going to cannibalize each other, So, I mean, that's what I think. Your moral decisions, are they based upon a natural law, or are they based around what is the culture that's pushing you to believe that? What type of myths you believe? And I think, they're individually. Some people are kinder than others. Some people are just born kinder than other people. And some people are born meaner and more evil than other people. Some people are born greedier than other people. It's just like any other thing about humanity. Some people are tall, some people are small, some people are thin, and some people are fat. Some people are evil and some people are good, just as a mix that comes out in the genetics, I suppose. But beyond that, everybody squeezes into the culture. And what the culture is we got to pay attention to it, of course. And with the internet and everything, the culture spreads quickly, and all ideas are immediately, all myths are immediately spread out there. So when somebody tells you, I mean, I could take a specific instance. Let's say the election was stolen, in 2021 or whatever it was, when Donald Trump got thrown out illegally, let's say. You can believe that, and that if that's what you believe, and then whenever somebody says no, that's not true, then they could say, well, you're brainwashed. Well, no, you're brainwashed. No, you're brainwashed. See, with the internet and the quick communications that occur nowadays, it's hard to tell when you're brainwashed and when you're actually making a moral or proper decision based upon truth, because the truth is, well, they talk about it a lot now, truthiness. We don't know what the truth is sometimes.